Good morning. I was saying in my last video that in order to determine the nature of change, you have to question the constructs and the concepts. And this is the best way to establish your values. Like I often say that everybody ought to establish their own values and define their own morality, because universal values and universal morality doesn't work. And a perfect example of this is when you question the constructs and the concepts. If you look at Christianity, the construct does not match the concept. Like there's a concept of Christianity of how you should live and how you should behave and how you should behave towards others. But this is a universal value system and a universal concept, but yet it can't work because nature is complex and diverse. If you say we are nature personified, nature is complex and diverse, and the same values can't apply to everybody because we all have to have different values that relative to our respective roles. But we don't all have the same roles, so a universal value system and a universal morality can't work. Like I was saying, about the cats recently. That's not in my interest to feed the cats, but there's a woman on the street who feeds the cats, and she obviously places a higher value on the cats. But this is her role. Maybe her role is to feed the cats, but it's most certainly not mine, and it's not conducive to my goals. But often when it comes to defining your values, if you do a cognitive behavioural therapy course, they'll give you this list of values like authenticity, honesty, freedom, travel, all this, a whole list of values. But then people pick from the board whatever resonates with them and say, I value this, this is my highest value: authenticity, travel, freedom. But they don't actually question the concepts. They don't question their concept of freedom. They don't question their, but yet, or yet they might pick honesty, but yet their behaviour might not reflect this value. So basically, the concepts don't match the constructs, and it takes a lot of. In order to do this, you have to really make the unconscious conscious. You really have to think about the concepts and the constructs. Like, for example, even the way you dress is to create a concept. Now, I had no great. I didn't really care about how I dressed or how I didn't dress because it wasn't important to me. But now, I don't think a set value system, these unshakable principles work either. You have to be able to choose your best response in every eventuality in what's conducive to the goal. And as your role changes, your values can change too. For example, now I have to be more conscious of the concept that I'm creating, that construct, and then I have a concept, and that's very much based on the concept that I want to project, that I want to create. Basically, how other people perceive you, because you have to. Not that I care how other people perceive me. I'll do whatever is conducive to the goal. But before, for example, when I didn't have a hostel to run, or my values were different. I could drink and I could party and everything else because I didn't have anything to lose. I didn't have a hostel to run. But now my role has changed. I have a hostel to run, so I have to be conscious of the construct that I want to create and the concepts. And the concept that I have for the hostel, and then I have to question all the concepts that are conducive to creating the larger concept, if you know what I mean. But then you constantly have to question. You have to question, say, does the construct align with the concepts? And constantly ask yourself, basically, what's conducive to the goal? What's conducive to the goal? So you establish your values and your morality in alignment with what's conducive to the goal. But at the same time, you have to question the consequences of certain actions. Like, for example, if I'm watching the Vikings, really, if you want to create an empire, you have to ask yourself, the most strategic way to do this, contemplating the consequences of your actions and keeping in mind basic principles like mind does to us what we do to others. And then when it comes to questioning your values, I've been really thinking an awful lot about the value of human life, and that there's a universal valuation seems to be put on life, that human life is the most important thing, and this huge value put on human life that's above all other life. And this is very much based on this misconception that we're separate from nature and above everything else. And though we're apex animals, we're still animals. And really, like, a universal value system doesn't work when it comes to people either. Like, the same as the cats I put no value on the cats, they're not conducive to my goal. I'm going to value certain humans over other humans, because, like, this universal value system when it comes to humanity doesn't work either. It's like I was talking to an East German man, and I was saying, well, some people are of more value to others, and some people aren't rational enough to be able to question their values, to be able to establish their own values and define their own morality. Basically, they don't use reason. They don't have a faculty of reason. They didn't develop their faculty of reason, and they didn't develop their faculty of reason due to nanny states and due to value systems that are imposed upon them, such as religions and different things. And as I say, I always say that Stoicism, for example, is not an ethical doctrine, because trying to teach us an ethical doctrine is just imposing your values on others, and it makes no different from a religion. And really, the whole purpose of philosophy is to teach you how to establish your own values and define your own morality. But it's not to impose a universal value system on everybody, especially Stoicism. Stoicism is about an understanding of nature. And nature, if you understand nature, there is no rules. There's no rules. Man has to use reason to create his own rules by which to live by. But in saying that, he has to be able to question the constructs and the concepts. For example, the hierarchical constructs like the prison system and the judicial system and all these, and to be able to negate the consequences of his actions. So basically, what I'm saying is, like, I was talking with an East German fella recently, and he said like that well, people have to be educated in this regard. They ought to be taught the 7 arts. This is rhetoric, math, language. They have to be taught these 7 art subjects, and this is, and then they will be able to have to be educated in this regard, and then they will be able to establish their own values and define their own morality. But then, having given this thought, that this is he values this knowledge, but different people would value different knowledge differently in accordance with their respective roles. For example, a mechanic would value a knowledge of cars over a knowledge of rhetoric and a knowledge of math. A knowledge of rhetoric and maths wouldn't be of any great value to him when it comes to fixing engines. The same as a doctor. What good is this education to a doctor? Obviously, he would prioritise a knowledge of the body and a knowledge of curing illnesses over a knowledge of anything else. But this is what I'm saying, like, that people have ought to establish their values in accordance with their respective roles. But then there are, of course, universal concepts that have to be considered as well, which like the concept of love. Because if you don't consider your concept of love, you can very easily adapt a universal concept which will seriously inhibit the realization of your constructs, your ability to create your constructs. Like, and then you have to ask yourself, what do I value more? Do I value money? Do I value love? Because a lot of people say that money or have the misconception that money is the greatest energy of all, is the most powerful thing. But really, the most powerful energy of all is love. But you have to be able to use this, because love is sort of like, in a way, like money, that can actually make you or break you. It can create you or destroy you, all depending on your use for it. So really, when it comes to a value system, or when it comes to valuing things, really your whole value should be based on your use of everything, on your use of drugs, of your use of money, of your use of love, of your use of every emotion. And every value should be really dependent, including humans. How much you value one person over another should be based on your use for them, of how their role pertains to your life, how their role pertains to yours. Otherwise, you can very easily get sidetracked, and you end up getting trapped. Basically, you end up getting trapped, and then you sacrifice your goals, you sacrifice your the, the creation of your concepts for the creation of others. Basically, this can often be manifests itself in a number of ways. Basically, like if they value some things, you sacrifice your values to accommodate theirs. Well, then you're going to be miserable, as far as I can see. You're going to be miserable because really you sacrificed your life for theirs, and lots of people will consider this a worthy sacrifice. But again, it all depends on your nature and what your values are. Like, I value my duty to nature over anything else. But maybe some people don't have a duty to nature. They find purpose in other things, like purpose to find purpose in controlling others and dominating others and controlling others and asserting themselves as an authority and on controlling other people's lives and knowing what's best for them. But maybe that's because they don't focus enough on their own. They don't establish their own values and define their own morality, and they don't establish their own goals, basically. They just, maybe that's their nature. Maybe they just don't think big enough. Maybe they don't have the courage to think big enough. Maybe they don't question concepts like freedom and duty and virtue. Yeah, but basically, the point of this video is the fact that we're all equal is the greatest noble lie. It's the greatest noble lie, the fact that we're all equal. And our value system should be basically, is this person conducive to the goal? Because when you actually do away with the universal value system, like as the German man said to me, knowledge is known that snake is dangerous. But the same thing applies. Knowledge is known that certain people are treacherous and dangerous, and they have different values to you, and that they can very easily try to manipulate you and control you and dominate you in order to serve their agenda, to serve their goals. But you have to mitigate this, and as I say, knowledge is an awareness of this. Is to be aware of this, that some people are dangerous, and you have to ask yourself, what is the nature of the beast? What is the nature of the beast? And then once you say to yourself, what is the person's nature, and then what is their nurture, and what are their values? What are their values? Because if they don't share the same values as you have to ask yourself, what are their values? Because are they dangerous and treacherous, and will they inhibit you? Then you have to ask yourself, is what value you put in their life? Would you cut them down like a blade of grass? And then if you had to cut them down like a blade of grass, like, what are the consequences of this? But basically, if you apply the universal value system, like, should I feed the cats? Should I accommodate the spiders? Should I accommodate the insects? It's all life. It's all life. But basically, this universal value system that they place on all human life, basically, my point is, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. That's not in accordance with nature. It's just not in accordance with nature. And yeah, it's just not in accordance with nature. So basically, my point is to question all values and establish your own morality, but it starts with understanding nature, and understanding that nature is complex and diverse, and so are humans. And you have to question every human. You have to question every human, basically on as Cicero said, place your friends in order of your use for them. Yes, place your friends in order of use for them, and don't get tied into universal values like love everybody, love everybody. I say, yeah, love everybody as a part of nature. I have a universal love for nature, but this applies to the cats and to the spiders as well. This is my point. It's for everybody to establish their own values and define their own morality in accordance with their goals. But you also have to ask them, what is your value of money? Why do you value money? What is your use for money? What do you plan to do with it? What is your intent? What is your intent? What is your motivation? You know, what is your motivation in creating the concept? What is your motivation? You know, right, good morning.